Hi, this is Eva Cartman, host of the Dream Big podcast show, the place to go to learn, laugh, and grow. For all you young big dreamers who love to paint, you know what happens when you mix different colors of wet paint together. Sometimes you would purposely mix colors to create a new one, but that's not always the goal. And today, I'm sharing a great metaphor on why it is important to let the paint dry. You know what time it is. This is episode 257 of the Dream Big podcast, and it's time to dream big.
My name is Eva Cartman. I'm part of a squad of super kids that are here to change the world. We don't believe you need to be adults to have big goals and start working towards your dreams. We believe age is just a number, and you're never too young to make a difference. We may be young, but we are not naive. We understand that achieving our big dreams will not be easy. It will take incredible dedication, hard work, and yes, massive action. There will be ups and downs, but we embrace the challenges and relish pushing outside of our comfort zone because this is how we grow. They may not teach us these concepts in our school textbooks, but we are smart enough to know that the tools and tactics to achieve our big dreams are out there. And we are willing to do the work to seek out these skills and master them because we know that our future depends on it. We are the big dreamers, and it's time to dream big.
Before we dive into this week's episode, here's Silly Sophia to make us all laugh.
Why didn't the koala bear get the job? They said she was overqualified. What do you call a flower that runs on electricity? A power plant.
Thank you, Sophia. Before I share how getting outside of your comfort zone doesn't have to be so uncomfortable, I wanted to give a shout out to some big dreamers who reviewed the Dream Big podcast. Emma and Jordy Kate, thank you so much for taking the time to leave a review. Big dreamers, I cannot even describe how helpful your reviews are for keeping us visible in Apple Podcasts, which just keeps on getting more and more competitive. If you could just take a few seconds to leave a review, I would love to shout you out on the podcast, just like Emma and Jordy Kate. I plan to pick out a few every week, so please go to dreambigpodcast.com/iTunes to leave your review. Today, we have an episode of Mentor Magic, where I share lessons learned from a mentor that if we implement as young big dreamers, it can help us get to our big dreams so much faster. It's like magic. This week's lesson was inspired by Daniel J. Watt's thought-provoking TED Talk entitled, "To Accomplish Great Things, You Need to Let the Paint Dry." This wasn't the typical TED Talk where someone gets on stage and just talks for 15 minutes, maybe with a PowerPoint presentation. Daniel's talk was more like performance art. While he was telling the stories, he was also splattering paint on a canvas on the floor and then tap dancing on that canvas, so essentially painting with his feet. I'll include links in the show notes at dreambigpodcast.com/257. And I definitely encourage you to watch the video because Daniel is a master performer. In fact, Daniel is most known for his legendary performances in Broadway musicals Hamilton and the Tina Turner musical. In the TED Talk, he talks about how leading up to the pandemic, he had always taken pride in being the kind of artist that's always making moves. Daniel would put as much as possible on his plate, not only being part of the cast of Broadway musical, but taking on TV roles, doing solo shows, overlapping with the Broadway performances, making appearances at industry events around the world. And the whole time while Daniel was sharing these stories, he is putting more and more wet paint on the canvas on the floor and tap dancing on that canvas. Daniel was burnt out and needed a vacation, and then the pandemic hit. Broadway shut down. Although the pandemic was not the vacation he had imagined, Daniel shared that it was an opportunity for him to reset, to stop throwing paint on the canvas. To quote Daniel, "I had realized I had to learn how to let the paint dry. I have to stop and take a break, because if I don't, my yellows and my blues will make green, even if that's not what I really want. And then I started to think about all the other times when I wasn't letting the paint dry, when I wasn't taking time away to let things heal. Like when I was still dancing on 2 sprained ankles, even though the doctor told me I needed to take a break for a while. All the times when I didn't want to take the time it takes to reveal itself to me. All the times when I didn't believe that what I had already done was good enough and that I don't have to keep going back in with more color. I love how Daniel uses this metaphor of paint to share why sometimes we need to slow down and take a break. We have all painted before, and we know what happens when you are not patient and don't wait to let the paint dry. If you do keep on adding colors on top of colors, those colors will blend and it becomes more and more difficult to paint something beautiful. Unless, of course, you're trying to do one of those abstract art pieces where there are a splatter of colors everywhere. But if you're trying to paint a landscape, the ocean, mountains, anything in nature, you need to wait for the underlying layer of paint to dry before you add more paint. In other words, don't try to do everything at once. Sometimes you just need to slow down and take it one step at a time. Right now, I have a new business idea that I'm starting to work on. It's a big project, so I decided to wait till the summer when I had more time on my hands to move it forward. I decided to focus on getting through the school year, studying for my final exams, and taking care of some other items, and now I have so much more time and energy to spend on my new business. I can't tell you what it is yet, but I'll give you a hint and let you know that it has to do with chickens. I really like Daniel's metaphor for letting the paint dry. As I work on this new business idea and look to add new projects and passions and hobbies going forward, I think that it is definitely worth asking whether I already have too much wet paint on the canvas and if I should wait to let it dry before making my next move. That's all for today. This is Eva Cartman reminding you that you have unlimited potential. Your dreams are not optional, you need to make them essential. So take massive action to turn those big dreams into reality. Live with passion, the way life was meant to be. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!